Hope stood in the Forrester living room, her hands trembling slightly as she stared down at the wedding ring she had taken off hours ago. She turned it over in her palm, as if the simple gold band held the power to undo the years of deceit, the silence, the shame. The silence in the room buzzed with the weight of what she was about to do. No more lies. No more pretending. No more hiding the truth behind carefully measured smiles and scripted reassurances. Liam had to know. He deserved the truth even if it would destroy everything they had left. For years, Hope had lived in the illusion of a perfect life. She played the role of devoted wife, loving mother, loyal partner. But underneath the carefully curated image was a secret that threatened to unravel everything. It was a truth she had buried so deep, even she had convinced herself it didn't exist. But it did. And it had a name, Beth. Hope could still remember that night flurry around the edges, soaked in guilt and wine. Liam had been away. They had argued. She had felt distant, unloved, unsure. And Carter had been there. He had listened. He had understood. And one thing led to another until the lines between loneliness and betrayal disappeared. It had been one night. Just one. But it changed everything. When she found out she was pregnant, she did what she thought was right at the time, what seemed like the only option. She calculated the dates. She clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, Beth was Liam's. And even when the math didn't add up, even when her gut screamed otherwise, she chose silence. She told herself it didn't matter. She loved Liam. She loved Beth. That was enough. Or at least it had to be. Carter had never spoken of it again. He had seen the panic in her eyes the morning after, the way she avoided him for weeks, the way she couldn't even say his name without her voice catching. He respected her decision. He stayed quiet. They both did. It was an unspoken pact, one that now sat like a noose around her neck. But everything changed when Liam tried to save their marriage. When he came to her, not with blame but with hope, begging for a second chance, for a fresh start, for their family. Hope realized he couldn't live with the lie any longer. Not when he was fighting for them. Not when he was willing to give everything one more shot. So she called him, told him to come, that they needed to talk. Really talk. When Liam walked into the room, he smiled, tentative, hopeful, the way he used to. He didn't know his world was about to collapse. Hope took a deep breath, her voice low and cracking. There's something I need to tell you, and it's going to change everything. Liam frowned, confused but patient. Hope, whatever it is, we can work through it. We always do. She shook her head. Not this. What is it? She looked up, her eyes shining with tears. I haven't been honest with you. Not just recently. For years. Since before Beth was born. Liam's posture stiffened. What are you talking about? Hope struggled for words. That night. Years ago. When we had that fight and you left for Paris, I wasn't alone. Carter was there. I was upset. Drunk. I didn't mean for anything to happen, but it did. It happened once. Just once. And I buried it. We both did. Liam's face paled. What do you mean it happened? She couldn't look at him. I slept with Carter. While we were together, the silence that followed was deafening. Liam stepped back, his voice rising. You cheated on me. With Carter, Hope nodded, tears spilling now. I told myself it didn't mean anything. That it was a mistake. And then I found out I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. I told myself Beth was yours. I needed her to be yours. But I knew. Deep down I always knew. Liam looked like she had physically struck him. You're telling me Beth isn't mine? Hope's sob caught in her throat. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Liam stared at her, shaking his head in disbelief. You let me believe she was mine. All these years. You let me raise her. Love her. Call her my daughter. She is your daughter, Liam. Maybe not by blood, but no, he snapped. Don't you dare say that. You took away my right to know the truth. You robbed me of my choice. Hope collapsed into the chair behind her, unable to stand under the weight of his words. Liam paced the room, furious and heartbroken. You don't get to decide what's best for me. Or for Beth. You've built our whole life on a lie. Hope didn't defend herself. There was nothing she could say. Every word would sound like an excuse. Liam turned back to her. Does Carter know? She nodded. He's always known. But he respected my decision to stay silent. Of course he did. Liam spat. He gets to live with the truth while I lived in the dark. Hope looked at him through tear-streaked eyes. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to lose everything. I thought I could move on. That we could still be a family. Liam's voice broke. We were never a family. Not really. Not if it was all based on a lie. Hope tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. I need air, he said. I need time. And then he was gone. Hope sat alone in the quiet, the truth finally out in the open, the truth that could never be taken back, no matter how deeply she regretted it. Across town, Carter sat at his desk, unaware that the secret they'd shared had just detonated the life of the man he respected, the man who had trusted them both. But deep down, Carter had known this day would come. Secrets never stayed buried forever in Los Angeles. The fallout came fast. The Forresters buzzed with whispers and speculation. Rich demanded answers. Brooke was devastated, torn between defending her daughter and mourning the destruction Hope had caused. Steffi, never one to miss an opportunity, confronted Hope with cold rage. You've always played the victim, Steffi snapped. But look at you now, lying to Liam for years, stealing his daughter, destroying his life. You're no better than the rest of us. Hope didn't fight back. She took every word like a blade to the chest. Meanwhile, Liam disappeared. He didn't answer calls. He didn't respond to texts. Days passed. Then a week. No one knew where he had gone, only that he was broken, betrayed, lost. When he finally returned, he wasn't the same. He showed up at Carter's office without warning. Carter stood when he saw him, unsure what to say. You knew, Liam said, flatly. All this time. You knew she cheated. You knew Beth wasn't mine. Carter nodded. I did. And I'm sorry, Liam. I save it, Liam snapped. You say you're my friend. Friends don't do this. It was a mistake, Carter said quietly. One night. We both regretted it. Regret doesn't change the fact that you stole my life from me. I didn't steal anything. You helped her lie. That makes you just as guilty. Carter didn't argue. He knew Liam was right. The confrontation ended without violence, but the damage was clear. The fracture between them was permanent. As the weeks dragged on, the truth settled into the lives of everyone involved. Beth, too young to understand the storm swirling around her, continued to smile and laugh and reach for the man she still called Daddy. And despite everything, Liam couldn't walk away from her. Not completely. Because love wasn't always tied to blood, and despite the betrayal, despite the lies, his heart still belonged to that little girl. But with Hope, things were different now. He couldn't look at her the same way. The trust was gone. The foundation of their love had cracked too deep to repair. And as much as it broke him, Liam knew he had to walk away, not because he didn't love her, but because he no longer recognized the woman standing in front of him. Hope watched him leave, a part of her breaking with every step he took. She had told the truth. She had done what was right, but it had cost her everything. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew that this was just the beginning. In Los Angeles, secrets always came with consequences. And the bold and the beautiful were never safe from the truth. If you want a continuation, spin-off, or alternate ending, just say the word. Liam sat in his car for what felt like hours after leaving Hope. The engine off, the city buzzing faintly outside his windshield, but inside the cabin, it was silent. Numb. He couldn't hear the cars, couldn't feel the heat, couldn't even feel his own hands on the steering wheel. His mind was stuck playing Hope's words on loop. Beth isn't your daughter. It was a sentence that detonated everything he thought he knew. Years of love, of sacrifices, of dreams built on family, all erased in seconds. He wasn't angry anymore. Not even heartbroken. He was simply hollow. But even in the quiet, there was a strange clarity beginning to creep in. A painful truth. He couldn't fight for something that was never real to begin with. Days passed. He didn't go back to the house. He didn't respond to Hope's messages. He needed space to think, to understand where he went wrong, and most importantly, who he was without her. Hope, on the other hand, was spiraling. She had confessed the truth to cleanse her conscience, yes, but she hadn't expected it to burn everything to the ground so quickly. Now she stood alone, facing the wreckage of her decisions, unsure what to rebuild and what to leave buried. And in that silence, Carter came. He didn't push. He didn't ask. He simply showed up, quiet, respectful, and honest the way he always had been. Hope didn't expect comfort from him. After all, their shared past had detonated her life. But there he was, steady, present, real. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said one night, standing in her kitchen. Not for a second. Hope's voice trembled. "That night I thought it ruined everything." "Maybe it didn't," Carter said. "Maybe it just revealed the truth." She looked at him, uncertain. "You think we have a future after all this?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I'd like to try." Hope hadn't smiled in days. But something about the way he said it, no pressure, no promises, just honesty, allowed her to exhale. For the first time since the confession, she felt the faintest flicker of peace. Meanwhile, across town, Liam reappeared. He wasn't alone. At a Forrester event, Ivy Forrester had been mingling in the background, quietly working on a new jewelry line. She wasn't looking for Liam, not anymore. Their story had ended years ago. But when she saw him, his face tired and distant, something stirred. They exchanged awkward pleasantries at first. But Ivy, being Ivy, didn't let the distance stay long. "You look like hell," she said, blunt but kind. Liam chuckled. "Thanks, want to talk about it?" And somehow he did. What started as a brief catch-up turned into a 2-hour conversation at the edge of the gala. Ivy listened. Really listened. She didn't judge. She didn't take sides. She didn't give advice. She just saw him, something Liam hadn't felt in months. After that night, things moved slowly. Ivy and Liam started meeting casually, coffee runs, long walks, quiet dinners. It wasn't a rush. It wasn't a rebound. It was healing. Gentle. Mutual. One night, as they sat on a bench overlooking the hills, Ivy asked softly, "Do you think you'll ever forgive Hope?" Liam stared at the stars. "Maybe. For my own sake. But I can't go back. Too much was built on a lie. I need something real now. No shadows. No secrets." Ivy nodded. "Then maybe you're finally free." And he was. Free to build something new. Free to love without suspicion. Free to stop clinging to a version of a family that never existed. Meanwhile, Hope and Carter began to rebuild slowly, hesitantly. There were stares, whispers, judgments, but they didn't care. The truth was out. There was nothing left to hide. And with each passing day, they grew closer, not because of guilt, but because of choice. Hope had been broken, but she wasn't done. She learned to face the mirror again, to stop avoiding her reflection. Carter stood beside her, not to fix her, but to walk with her as she healed. As for Beth, she continued to smile. She didn't understand DNA. She didn't care about bloodlines. She loved Liam and Carter both. And in her world, that was enough. One afternoon, Liam visited. Hope answered the door, surprised. "I wanted to see her," he said. Hope nodded. "She's in the backyard." As Beth ran into his arms, Liam smiled, a real one. Not for Hope. Not for the past. But for the child who had always called him Daddy. Afterward, as he turned to leave, Hope stopped him. "Are you happy?" she asked. Liam hesitated, then nodded. "Getting there, you deserve to be," she said. So do you. And with that, they parted not as enemies, not even as exes, but as two people who had finally stopped pretending. The chapter had ended. Not neatly, not painlessly, but honestly. Liam walked back to his car, where Ivy was waiting. Hope closed the door, where Carter was waiting. Two roads, two futures, both built not on the illusion of perfection, but on the strength of truth. And in the world of the bold and the beautiful, that was the closest anyone ever got to peace. If you want the story to continue, maybe a twist, scandal, or a return from the past, just say the word.
Oh.